Body of the essay is just like what you guys have been doing in class. So the body of the essay comes from those 3 key points that you've set up, where each one of your body paragraphs is going to take one of those key points and expand on it a little bit. Here's what I don't want you to do. I want you to remember that students who are writing this essay in class can't go and look things up, right? Because they're sitting in the classroom writing the essay. So I do not want you to use outside sources. Please do not include a bunch of facts and figures in the essay. You will get points deducted if you've got outside stuff. Like if you start citing statistics that aren't included in the question, my first question is going to be, well, where did you get that, right? That's not what I want you to do for this essay. It should be, the questions are things that you should be able to answer from your own knowledge and experience. And so that's what I want you to use. And in the example question, I can use examples of the things that I've seen affect students around me, right? I can, without looking it up, I can think of examples of the way that financial issues might keep a student from graduating college. I don't have to look that up, right? I can think about how college is very expensive. You're paying a high tuition. You have to buy books. You have to buy things like live text, right? What is all this stuff that you have to pay for? And then in addition, many of you are living on your own now, and you're having to pay those expenses, and that can quickly get overwhelming, especially if you lose financial aid for some reason, if you're not on a scholarship, if you are paying for all of that, if you're paying for all of it out of pocket, it can get really expensive really quickly. And so if anything unexpected comes up, like you get sick and you can't work, all of a sudden that might mean that you have to make a choice and say, I can't afford this right now. So that's an example of the ways that I can pull information from my own experiences without having to go look it up. When I grade the body paragraphs, it's just like the body paragraphs in your regular essays. I'm looking for the same stuff. I want a clear topic sentence, so the beginning of the paragraph should show me which key point you're about to talk about, and then several examples supporting points to explain the topic. Topic sentences can be pretty simple in the writing proficiency. The key thing that I'm looking for when I grade is, does the topic sentence of your body paragraph align with one of the key points from the thesis statement? So if you've listed financial hardships, insufficient preparation, and family issues, your first body paragraph should probably deal with financial hardships, right? So one of the most common obstacles to student success is financial need. That could be my first topic sentence. Then I'll explain that in my body paragraph, and then when I get to my next body paragraph, I could say, in addition to financial struggles, students sometimes encounter unexpected family issues that delay or prevent completion of their degree. So look at how in each one of these, I'm using one of my key points: financial need, family issues. Oh, excuse me, you guys, sorry about that. And then insufficient preparation. So, this highlighter's really hard to use. So, each one of those could serve as a topic sentence for my 3 body paragraphs. So as you're writing your WPE, it's totally okay to come back and look at these as examples of how I set up my topic sentences. Clearly states exactly what the paragraph's going to contain. It's going to contain examples and explanations of how that particular issue might prevent a student from graduating. Okay, so then what goes in my body paragraph? Examples and evidence. Tricky thing is, I've just told you you can't go look up evidence. So once you've got that topic sentence established, you need to be thinking about a minimum of 3 points of support that can back up the claim that you're making in that topic sentence. So if my claim is that students sometimes run into problems based on financial need, I need to think of three to four, I would say, pieces of supporting evidence for that. And you can make this straightforward. I've said this already. It needs to be stuff that you can pull from your own experience. The biggest thing that I'm looking for here is your evidence on topic. So do you give me supporting evidence, supporting examples, and does it match up with the thing that you say is the topic of that paragraph? So I've included a sample line on the next slide. And in this slide, what I've done is for each of those 3 key points, right? Here's key point 1, key point 2, key point 3. Oop. Oh, you get the idea. There's number 3. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. In each of these pieces of the outline, I've gone over the 3 key points that I used in my thesis. So here are some pieces of supporting evidence that I could use to support that claim. So we've already talked about financial need. Let's move on to family issues. We're going to look at this one. So I get to my second body paragraph and I say that in addition to financial need, another thing that sometimes prevents students from graduating college is unexpected outside family issues. And then here are the points that I use to support my claim. So my claim is family issues can keep students from graduating. And I support that by saying almost every student who enters school has some kind of family ties, right? Even if you don't have children of your own, you are somebody's child, and maybe you help with things at home. Maybe you have relatives that you take care of. Some of you are parents and you have children of your own that you take care of. And one of the big things that students run into is illness. So illness of a parent or child may require a student to take time away from their studies. And I can think of students of my own who have run into this. Some of you may be among those students where you've had to write professors a letter and say, I'm so sorry, I've fallen behind in my work because I've been having to take care of a sick relative. In addition to that, the stress around you that can be caused by family things, like somebody in the family loses a job, or you go through a divorce, or you go through a big move. One semester I had students I was teaching in New Orleans, at Southern New Orleans, and I had several students who were affected by a tornado that hit the Gentilly neighborhood in New Orleans. And so lots of those students had to take some time away from their studies because their whole family had been affected by the damage caused in these tornadoes. So that's an example that I might use there as well. So anything that causes stress to the family can cause problems, and even happy issues like the birth of a child can require extra time away and affect the balance of class and home. So say you've just had a kid and you're trying to go back to school, that's going to take a lot of your time, even though it's a really happy thing. And one example I might provide of this, in addition to the example of students whose homes were destroyed in the tornado, is one semester I had a student whose sister died during the term. And the stress of that loss, combined with the time taken away to help support family, meant that she had to drop some classes. So she just was going through a lot, right? She was sad because she lost her sister at a young age. And in addition to that, she was having to help her family through this very difficult time. She was trying to be strong for her mother, strong for her nieces and nephews. And it meant that there was a lot of strain on her, and that can affect your studies and how you're approaching your schooling. And so that might be a situation where a student decides it's easier for me to drop out than it is to keep doing both of these things. So you can take a look at these and see exactly the kinds of things I'm looking for in a body paragraph. And you can look at these other 2 examples and see what I mean. So really straightforward. Tell me your topic sentence, give me some things to back it up. And I want to point out that these are concrete things. So try not to be too abstract. Try not to say the same things over and over again. Don't just keep repeating to me, family issues can hurt students, right? Tell me what some of those family issues are. Give me examples. So examples are the key to the body paragraph. Conclusion can be really straightforward. All I'm looking for in the conclusion is that you review your key points, and this time you can do it in a single sentence or multiple sentences. So remind me what your 3 key points are. And talk to the reader about why the issue is important. So remind them why this is a big deal. The thing that will hurt you the most in the conclusion, 2 things. One is if you don't repeat your key points somewhere in the conclusion, I'll probably take off points. I'll say, where are your key points? The other thing is, please don't put any new information in the conclusion. You're only reviewing what you've already talked about. So try not to bring up new things, right? Because what'll happen if you bring up new things is that the reader's going to say, well, what's this new point? Why didn't we talk about this sooner? So your conclusion is just tying everything together. Try not to make the wording too similar to the intro. While you're reviewing your key points, you want to vary your language a little bit. So don't just repeat your introduction. Give me a little bit of variety. And I have a sample conclusion here that you're welcome to read. I'm not going to make you listen to me read it out loud. But what I want you to look for in the conclusion is that I repeat my key points. So here we go. From financial need to family struggles, outside forces sometimes lead a student to drop out. And then I bring up insufficient preparation, which is my third key point. And then I explain why it's important. It's vital that colleges recognize the obstacles that prevent students from graduating successfully so that they can try to help. So it's really simple, it's really straightforward. So take a look at that example. Some other quick tips. You don't have as much time to step away from this essay as you do with the normal ones that we write, because the normal ones that we write, you get a rough draft period and a final draft period. So remember that when I'm grading, I'm taking that into consideration. I'm not grading this as though it's an essay that you've written multiple drafts for. Here's what I'm looking for. Typos. Read through your draft. Please don't hand me in something that looks like you haven't even read it. Make sure that you're correcting typos. Capitalizing and punctuating properly. The other thing is just, does it make sense, right? Have you written sentences that make sense? Sometimes when we do rough drafts, you guys will hand me in things where I'll have a sentence that's missing words. And I know that what's happening is you're just going fast enough that you don't realize you've skipped a word, right? Your brain got ahead of your fingers when you were typing. That happens to me too. Happens to all of us. But you're responsible for making sure that your work makes sense. So you need to go back and read through what you've said to be sure you haven't left anything out. And the other thing is make sure your tone's professional. It's an academic essay. You shouldn't be using slang. Shouldn't be using cursing, text speak like lol, right, or SMH. It's a professional essay, so please try to be professional in your language. Nothing big. You don't have to use big giant words. Just try to avoid slang terminology. So when I'm grading, what I'm looking for is, do you have all the parts to the essay? Do you have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, a conclusion? Does your introduction have a thesis statement? Does your thesis statement tell me what your 3 key points are? And do you then use your body paragraphs to discuss those 3 key points? Do your body paragraphs contain examples? It's relatively easy to get at least a B on the WPE as long as you're following that 5-paragraph format. Even A's, I get A's on the WPE all the time, so it's not intended to be a super difficult essay. A B means you got all the stuff, it's pretty clear, I can understand it. An A means you have all of the necessary parts, and I think your evidence is especially effective. I think you've done a really good job of choosing examples. I think you've done a good job of transitioning from one idea to the next. You've gone above and beyond. That's how you get an A. A C paper means you've got all the parts there, but so a C means you've got all the parts there, but you're kind of affected by some clarity issues or some grammatical problems. And that's kind of how your regular essays have gone, right? A B is pretty easy to achieve. A C means you did it, but you did the bare minimum. And an A means you really went above and beyond. The other thing that I want you to remember about this essay is that the WPE is not a dropped grade. You can't drop this one. So you have to write this essay. It's always counted your grade. And it's because it's required for all the students in classes as well. Everybody is required to take this assignment. There's otherwise some variation between the different classes and exactly what prompts we assign. Like when I do a compare and contrast, my essay prompt might be a little different than another teacher's. The WPE is the same for everybody, and therefore everybody across all the English 111s has to take it.